Everybody, this is Paldea, and we're back with another, with actually our first Pokemon deck profile of the channel. I think it's the first. I might have done another one, but I might not remember. I might not have uploaded, so probably the first one of the deck profile. So in this, I'm going to show you guys one of my favorite decks of the upcoming format. It's not really like an upcoming format deck. It's not like a popular deck or anything. It's just one that I came up with. I worked really hard to build, and that's performing actually better than I thought it would when I play against friends that have like decks that are going to do well, like Gardevoir, like Mew. I've played against a lot of Gardevoir and Mew. I've also played against just a lot of decks, and I tested a lot on my locals and with some of my friends with this. Again, I'm not like I'm pretty new at Pokemon, so I'm not the best player, and it might not be the best deck, but it's really fun. And for those of you who have like nostalgic tastes like I do, who build your deck around Pokemon, not around game styles, this is going to probably be a really cool deck, and one that you like, because it's a Blastoise deck. It's my favorite Pokemon of all time is Squirtle, and I needed to make that work in some capacity, and this is the best way that I found how, because the new water support is insane. So I'm excited to show you guys. The new set releases June 9th, but I got my hands on some cards due to sneak peeks, and I'm going to another sneak peek soon, but so I might have some of the cards later, but for now I'm missing 2 Chien-Pao. But let's get into the deck profile. First, 14 energies. You want to play a lot of energies in this deck because Baxcalibur and Baxcalibur can attach them from hand, and Chien-Pao needs something to search, right? You need some way to be able to get back into the game. So now let's get into the Pokemon. First, we're playing a 2-2 line of Arceus V-Star. Now, this is something that you could cut down to 1, or maybe cut down permanently and maybe go into like a Forest Seal Stone or something. I just like the Arceus V line because I do like playing Melanie, and I do like and I think Arceus V Star is a really good card. Just being able to search any 2 cards that you need early game or even late game just to finish out the game, and being able to attach to your energies to your Pokemon V. Unfortunately, it doesn't attach to your non-V Pokemon, but it's still really good because 200 damage on 3 energy is nothing to scoff at, especially when it comes with such a powerful ability as the search card. Also, I got this card not too long ago. I love it so much. It's probably my favorite card that I own now. But anyway, 2-2 line of that. Then we have 1 Lumineon V to search out your supporters. 1 Suicune V just to play more V monsters, and I think Suicune V, at least 1 copy of it, it's basically Raikou V, except it has like less type advantage against the decks, and this deck like sucks against Miraidon. It doesn't suck against Miraidon, but everything's going to get one-shotted by Miraidon, so it's like you got to play a lot smarter. You can still win, but it's a lot harder. And Suicune V is just the water version of Raikou, which I think is really good. You can play 2 of this if you want. I used to play 2 of this in my older versions, but I found 1 to be the best because you can nest ball it out, you can search for it, it's not hard to get to because it is a water monster, and Irida makes it so that all the water monsters in this deck are completely accessible. Then we have my favorite little guys. My favorite little guy is my favorite big guy. We have 2 Squirtles and 2 Blastoise. Now, I think that having to wait for Wartortle makes the deck much too slow. So the main thing I'm doing is using rare candies in the deck, because it's just good. It gets you into Blastoise a lot faster, and it makes it so that you can get into Baxcalibur a lot faster as well. Anyway, this Blastoise is... You can play Blastoise V and Blastoise V Max, but I want to play Squirtle. Squirtle is the whole reason I built this deck. And I think that, honestly, this Blastoise is a little bit, maybe just as good, if not better. But that's just, again, I'm not the best player. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. I just think that in the way this deck works, the Blastoise V Max and Blastoise V are good, but they're also like $50 each, so this one's like not. So make do with what you got, you know. But what this Blastoise does is it has the Hydro Pump attack, which gains 30 damage starting at 90 for each water energy attack, minimum of 4 to use the attack. So it automatically does 210 damage, which is good. But you can attach a lot more than just 4 energy to it. And with its ability, it's also really good early on in the game when you're just setting up your Pokemon, or even late game when you lose a couple of Pokemon and you want to set up your Pokemon to be able to attack next turn, and maybe just use Blastoise, a 1-prizer, as a sacrifice. I think it works really well, especially the way I built the deck. It's worked very well, and I have won against really good decks and decent players, you know? So I think that the deck works, and I'm really happy because I love Blastoise. I love the water Pokemon. Anyway, Vitality Spring. It attaches 6 energies from your deck to any Pokemon on your field, which is great because you can load up Arceus, you can load up Suicune, and you can load up Blastoise on another turn with the Baxcalibur by using Chen Pao and everything. But early on, I think it's better to, you can attach, when you don't have access to Baxcalibur, or if, I think going for this first is probably better, but that's just me. Then we have the Baxcalibur line. So this is actually just insane. I am playing 1 Archibald because with the Blastoise, I don't think it's as important to get this early on. I think it's good, but I don't think it's as important. So these 2 are useless. They just get into Baxcalibur. Baxcalibur, what it does is as many times per turn is you can just attach a water energy to your Pokemon from your hand, which is crazy. It's super strong, and it makes Blastoise a lot better. I was playing Gyarados in this version of the deck, but Gyarados just sucks as a card, Gyarados EX, sorry, which sucks because Gyarados is so cool, and I got the Alter Magikarp from the pre-release, and now I'm just sad. But anyway, then we've got Radiant Greninja, because you're going to have a bunch of water energies in your hand, so why not just use Radiant Greninja to be able to Melanie. That's your main way of getting into Melanie, which is fantastic. Then we have the 2 Chen Pao. Chen Pao, what it does is while it's in your active spot, once per turn, you can search up to 2 water energies from your deck and add them to your hand, which is great because it just enables everything, especially with Baxcalibur. Then we're moving on to the item. We have Super Rod. Super Rod, what it does, this is a new card, is basically just base Old Rod, but you can have to search, you can put back any combination of up to 3 water energies and Pokemon and shuffle them back into your deck. Then we have the Late Game Pro from the new set, which is Superior Energy Retrieval. This one, you discard 2 cards, which at the end of the game, you're going to have a bunch of cards in your hand that you're not going to want to use, and ways to replenish your hand too. And you're going to be able to Superior Energy Retrieval, get cards back into your hand, load up your Pokemon again, especially after the first Blastoise use. You're going to if your opponent knocks out your Pokemon, you're going to have a bunch in your grave to be able to use Melanie, to be able to use this, and just go into Baxcalibur again. Then we have 3 Ultra Balls, because I'm not playing 4 because I found this to be a very bricky later on in the game. Once you have your things set up, and once you have like 1 or 2 evolutions in hand, you don't really need Ultra Ball, so I don't want to play 4. You don't really care about seeing it turn 1, which is fine because your supporters draw you into it. I might even play 2. But I think Ultra Ball still is really good just to search out your evolutions, just to search out your starters if you don't have one. And to switch, switch is really good because although you can get a bunch of energy onto your Pokemon to retreat, a lot of the Pokemon in this deck have high retreat costs, which I think switch just helps out a lot. And I'm not playing Escape Rope because I just think switch is better for this deck because there's some Pokemon that you just don't want out, and sometimes you will only have 2 Pokemon on the field, which will suck. Then we have 3 Nest Ball. Nest Ball is really good. It gets you your Squirtle, gets you your frigid little crocodile thingy, and it gets you to Arceus and Suicune, which is great. Then we have 3 Rare Candy. I might cut an Arceus V-Star and put in another Rare Candy. I just think, again, this card's bricky. You only, even if you prize 1 or 2, you're still good with 1 because you do play the Baxcalibur Stage 1, which is really good. Then we have 4 Irida. This card is so busted. I come from Yu-Gi-Oh! And I'm like, this card just does everything. It searches for any water Pokemon, and it searches for an item. So, like, you can just search for Rare Candy and the evolution of the Pokemon you have on field and level it up. And it's like, what the hell? It's crazy. Then we have 2 Melanie. Melanie, I found you're playing V Pokemon, but not that many V Pokemon. You do want to get them on field to get that search and to get the advantage of Suicune. But, Melanie, I think, is just really good, but not not to this deck because there are a lot of non-V Pokemon. I think it's not good at 4. I think 2 is just the right number. At least that's what I found with my testing. And we have 3 Serena. Serena is just a good way to get rid of cards in your hand that you don't really want, and draw more cards, which is excellent. And it's also a way to get other Pokemon that you want on the in the active spot for your opponent into the active spot, because it's also boss's orders for V Pokemon, right? Then we have 2 new cards. We have Iono and Dendra, sorry. Now for this card, Dendra, I think a lot of people think it sucks, which is fine. Like, I get it. B-Barrel is just a better version of this card. But for this card, B-Barrel takes, especially if you want to play like multiple copies of B-Barrel, that's 4 slots that I would have rather used for Arceus, because Arceus I think has a better use in this deck than B-Barrel, especially early game. I think finding specific cards is more important, and you can play in like, I'd rather be able to play Suicune and a few other supporters and item cards. And Dendra is just like B-Barrel, but another way you can think of it is like maybe a mini Serena. You send one card after you use all your energies from your hand and use all your item cards and use everything. You're gonna have a very small hand, and being able to keep the card, especially if it's an energy early on in the game, to be able to shuffle it back into the deck and get more cards, I think is really, really good in this deck. I found that it's better than a 4th Serena a lot of the time. Whenever I tried it without Dendra. I just used Dendra at beginning because I thought it was okay, and then I learned it wasn't as good as I thought. But I ended up missing the copy of Dendra when I put in a 4th Serena, because sometimes it does come up where you just want to shuffle one card and draw a bunch of cards, right? And then the Iono, this card is so stupid. This card is dumb. So let's let this focus for a bit. So what this card does is each player shuffles their hand into the deck and puts it on the bottom of their deck. And either players can put cards on the bottom of the deck this way. Each player draws a card for each of their remaining prize cards. So early game, this card's insane. If you're behind, this card's insane. And it's just really good. It's just a really, really good card, and I really like it. I loved Marnie, and I've heard things about MN because I am a relatively new player, but this just seems kind of good, and it makes me happy. Then we have 2 boss's orders. Honestly, with Serena, you can cut this down to 1, but I just like 2 boss's orders because sometimes a lot of people are playing EX cards, especially with Excalibur, especially with the Chen Pao going to be in the format. You kind of want to get rid of those cards quick, and with this deck, you can get rid of them quickly, like turn 2 or turn 3. But yeah, and then we have Penny. I like Penny for 2 reasons. One, you can sort of, if your Suicune takes damage, put it back and then, like, get it back on the field and whatever. But also because Lumineon is really good in this deck, just because you can search Irida. Being able to search a supporter is so much more powerful because of the power level of Irida, and because of the power level of all the other cards, like being able to search Dendra or Serena or boss's orders. Even being able to reuse your Lumineon is really good. Lumineon can go back in the deck by attacking, but this is just much faster, and I found it to be really useful to be able to recycle your Lumineon, because I found when I wasn't playing this that I was like, dang, if I just had another Lumineon right now, I would be like happy, But anyway, let's go over the strengths and weaknesses of the deck. The strength of the deck is that it hits hard. It hits hard, it can beat over anything, and it can do it very well. It's very consistent at getting cards to either stall your opponent to the point where, like, you're doing an advantage loop with the energies that your opponent can't stop, with the Blastoise, with the Arceus. The Arceus is just there pretty much to load up Suicune, Lumineon, and another Arceus, but it's not mainly there for that. It's mainly there for the search. I just think that the Arceus search is insane, and yeah, you can play Forest Sealstone to get 1 search, but the 2 search in this, especially because it's just it's basically just another copy of Irida, and it's another copy of Irida at any point of the game that searches Irida, so it searches supporters as well as items, which is just very powerful in in a deck that wants to get cards like Rare Candy, wants to get Evolution Pokemon, wants to get an extra Suicune on the field just for extra damage. And then the Blastoise ability, although it ends your turn, is very strong, especially early on in the game when your opponent is still setting up. There's a reason why what's it called? Electric Generator makes Miraidon viable by itself. Even if it isn't first turn, even if it is during your second turn, you do want to go first with this deck because Blastoise can't really be Blastoise on first turn. It's stuck as Squirtle because that's how Rare Candy works. If they made a better version of Rare Candy, I'd be so happy. Like Rare Candy. But Blastoise is just insane. Usually the first activation of Blastoise, or what I like to call the only activation of Blastoise, is to set up your other Pokemon. You don't set up your Blastoise first. You set up your other Pokemon. You set up your Arceus, your Suicune, and maybe even and like put one energy on Blastoise, right? And then later on in the game, when you have the ability to go into Chien-Pao and Excalibur, you go into Chien-Pao and Excalibur, and it's just great. It's fantastic. And then Chien-Pao is such a powerful card with Baxcalibur. The fact that you can just load up 2 energy every turn on top of your normal energy search. And even, let's say, your opponent does something that makes you not be able to attack, right? You just Chien-Pao, and then instead of attacking, go Blastoise to charge up more of your Pokemon. It's crazy. Also, Water has so many good cards. Melanie and Irida are insane. Just being able to attach an energy from grave to get to your V Pokemon stronger faster. And there's Ava. And then Irida is just crazy. It's such a busted card. And then the new cards like Iono, Superior Energy Retrieval, Super Rod, they're all great just to support any deck. So I think I hope you guys build this and think like, wow, this really works. I can finally play Blastoise in like a semi-competitive capacity. Like, it's not going to be the best deck, but you can win against the best deck if you like, because people aren't expecting it, right? People aren't expecting you to play a Blastoise deck when Gardevoir, Miraidon, Mew are in the format, especially Giratina, Lost Box, or Lost Box itself. This deck is actually surprisingly good for what it is, because it is jank. There's no way it isn't jank, but it's good enough, and I've done well enough with it that I want to share it with you guys, because I was finally happy with a Blastoise deck that could do decently well and, you know, have people reminisce on their favorite Pokemon. But anyway, that's going to be it for the deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like, maybe subscribe. I'll try to do more Pokemon videos more often, and I also do Yu-Gi-Oh! On the channel if you're interested in that. But for now, thanks a lot, and I'll see you guys later. Hope you have a great day. Kitties, they're insane. There's Big Sister Ava. Oh no, she doesn't want to be with Ash anymore. And then there's Ashy. And then it's insane. Look at, oh, there's a noise.